in time of crisis. So this is one of the topics that I feel is quite relevant during this point of time. I think for those of you who came earlier, you have heard a little bit about my background. But for those of you who just joined, just very brief 1 minute about myself. So I have been in this sales career for the last 23 years. So I started off like a reps, like many of you do. And I worked my way up, into a sales director positions 3 years, I think 7, 8 years ago. So recently I decided to come out, to do training. And because I'm passionate about teaching and I love to share my experience. And when I look at the crisis today, right, I was just sharing with Sue and the rest of the people. Throughout the number of recession that I've seen, 97 and the 2000.com, and I feel this one is very unique. It's very, very different compared to the last few, right? Why? First of all, if I look at it, compared to the previous one, the recession that we faced, we do not have coronavirus pandemic issues. Basically, we did not face a problem of lockdown. And lockdown is something that, none of us have experience to handle, right? It means there's no business activities, a lot of business closed down, and people cannot go out, right? Not encouraged to go out. So which means that many of you have mentioned, like for example, your music business, you have no revenue. Maybe if you are selling engineering products, solution, there's no revenue. So all these things are the unique challenge that I see in this particular so-called crisis here. And the next question we also ask ourselves, right? When is this crisis is going to be over? Is it going to be over when the lockdown is lifted, right? I think it's a wish list that we are hoping if lockdown over, business back to usual. From my experience and my take, this is purely on my opinion, I don't think business is going to resume to normal even after the lockdown is lifted, at least in the next 12 to maybe 18 months, an average. Why? Because I'm a pharmacist myself by professional, and I know to produce a vaccine, if you can get a vaccine within 12 months, it's already very, very good, right? And certain times, even 24 months is considered fast, right? So unless we got the vaccine, things is not going to be back to normal. People will still be to avoid crowded place. People will still be wearing masks to go out. So which means that your business, your field may be permanently or at least semi-permanently changed in the next 12 to 18 months, right? That's why there's a need for us to really manage the situation proactively. So when I have this 90 minutes talk together, I put myself in your shoes, right? Be it an SME owner, be it a corporate sales leader. I think the top 4 questions in my mind will be, how do I manage my business and my sales target? Like some of you have mentioned, key challenge, how do I manage my target? I can't hit target, I got no revenue, right? Will my business survive? Because many of you who are owner, you need to pay for your employee during this time. But I got no revenues. In April, it's 0 sales. How am I going to pay? How do I support my sales team during this time? Everyone is basically anxious, right? Your sales team morale is very low because salespeople traditionally and even currently, live heavily on sales incentive, most of them. So if they don't achieve the target, the morale definitely is going to be low. And some even worry about whether they're going to have a job or not. And the last question is, how do I better prepare my team to face a challenge? So whether you are SME owner, you are corporate sales leader, or even you are the finance controller or whatever, there will be something for you during the 90 minutes discussions. But for us to keep these active discussions, right, or useful for everybody, I will encourage you to ask questions, to share your opinions, right, using the chat, or you can even speak out as you want to share your opinions, all right? So let's look at, the agenda here. Our focus will be on 2 areas. One is, I want to talk a little bit about sales leadership, right? What is sales leadership? The second thing I want to go through is, how are we going to manage the 3 different time frames during MCO, after MCO, as well as moving forward. So this will be the kind of agenda that we're going to go through. Let's look at the first one, sales leadership framework. I consider myself a very structured person, right? When I look at sales leadership, I always feel that in the market, many people have different definition, their own definition of what is good sales leader. So let me ask you the first questions that I want to get participation from you is, in your opinion, what makes a good sales leader? Okay, in your opinion, what makes a person good sales leader? Can you type, share with us your opinion. What makes someone a good sales leader? What kind of competency do you think they have? Okay, anyone? Just put down the first thing come to your mind. What make a person good sales leader? Able to aspire, lead by example. Okay, Joanne, Ila, thank you for sharing. Any others? Intuition for the next big thing, interesting, confidence. Lead by example, motivator, directions. Always be there with help, positive motivators. So guys, if you look at all these comments, right, you will notice that everyone will have slightly different perspective of what makes a good leader, right? From my experience, I can share with you, a good sales leader will need to have the competency in 4 areas. The first area is they are able to manage people, bring out the best potential in one, from the salesperson, which means that they must have the competency of to recruit the right person, develop the person, or even manage the performance if they need to. And the second competency they need to have is to manage the sales process. They are able to instill a very clear sales process in the organization. They are able to manage the customer account very well, not only their own account, but their reps, their team's account, the customer account, right? So they're able to instill even discipline. When people do not follow the process, they're able to bring people back, right? And the third part is like one of you had mentioned, they are able to have the intuition, but intuition is very subjective. I would say that they will have a very strong business acumen. They are able to set the right objective and drive the right activity to bring in the result. And the fourth one, which nobody have mentioned here, is they're able to drive a very good culture. And in sales, to me, a good culture is a culture that high performing, which means that people are very accountable for the result. People will be thinking on their feet. So these are the framework I feel people need to be very clear. If you want to lead a sales organization successfully, you need 4 things. These are the 4 components. And out of the 4, right, I can share with you that, the one that received the least attention or focus is actually to how to drive culture and high performing team. There are many leaders that are very good with people. There are also some leaders that are very good with the customer. There are some very good acumen, they come up with very good plan, but I notice a lot of time people ignore or not focusing on how do I get a very strong sales culture in the organization, or it could be organization culture. And why? Because people thought that culture is something that's so subjective, maybe it should be driven by the boss, it should be driven by the HR, but it's actually not true. All the sales leader has responsibility to drive the right culture in the sales organization. And I feel this is one area currently in current situation is we need to be good in it, right? Because this crisis, you cannot depend on the MD to fight alone. You cannot depend on the manager to fight alone. Everyone must be together to fight this battle together. And I want to share with you one of my personal experience in terms of driving the culture, right? When I first became a sales director, I was actually inherited a team of close to 200 people. And my attrition rate that time was very low because actually that time during the 2000.coms, recession, we lost a lot of government tender. And we faced a lot of competitions. And we also gone through what you call VSS for our people. VSS, that means that, letting people go. So the morale was at the bottom low. Every 10 people, 5 people want to leave the organization. So, and the performance is very down. So the first thing I did was, I refocused back into the sales culture. And what I did is, I get my people together, which is my manager together. We discuss about what needs to be done, what are the right behavior we need to have. And we identify the first behavior we need to have is people must have intense focus on performance, right? Which is number. Everyone has to be on top of the numbers. And the second thing we have identified is everyone must not shy away from performance issues, right? So we drive this true culture in the organization. And throughout the process, right, inevitably, we have to end up putting people on PIP. If some of you who do not know what is PIP, it means Performance Improvement Plan, right? Some people, we even have to issue warning letter. So if you may have think that if people are being managed, right, so if we call it aggressively, will people leave the organization even more? But to my surprise, it's actually on the opposite, right? People feel more engaged at work because they have a stronger sense of directions. And actually, even though more people on PIP, right, that means performance improvement plan, we start to see more performance and we start to see less people leaving the organization. And those who leave the organization are those that, with the wrong fit with the organization. I mean, this is one of the very good lessons that I've learned. And I realized that, look, right, when we are having a crisis, we must look at the problem holistically. Don't just firefighting, but look back at your fundamental, your DNA of the organization, right? Do we have the right culture? Do we have the right behavior? So guys, the reason I want to share this slide is to impress upon you that, look, during the crisis, as a sales manager, you need to have the competency in all the 4 areas. If you do not have, if you think that there's a gap in certain area, right, it is time for you to learn during this crisis. For your team, if you lead a team of sales manager, get them to upskill in all the 4 areas, right? Okay, next, I want to move on to talk about the 3 time frame. We will first look at during lockdown. Okay, during lockdown, 1 month is already over, right? Can you share with me during this 1 month, what your sales team has been doing? Or what have you been doing? Can you just type what your sales team has been doing during this 1 month lockdown? Just share with us on the chat, or you can speed up if you want. What has the sales team have been doing during this 1 month lockdown? Anyone? Contact with client, role play, stay connected, cold call, Zoom meeting. Okay, so what you have mentioned is most of the people are doing this, right? So what I'm going to share with you on this line is from the perspective of if you are the sales leader, if you are the MD, if you are the sales director, if you are the business development lead, you need to establish a priority, right? For example, if I'm the head of sales, I will probably say that, hey, looking at my business now, what is the list of priority I should keep for my team? So guys, write down in the chat box, what do you think will be the key priority for the team now? I think we have something, someone had mentioned connect with the customer. I have seen that. Someone has mentioned about what you call the role play, which is development. Is there any other key priority at this moment? What do you think is a key priority at this moment for leaders? Collection? Yeah. So I want to share with you, in my perspective, the top 4 priorities. I think the first priority is to keep everybody safe. As much as we want the business, we want to make sure our people are safe. I think that's the first priority. The second priority is business, okay? If you are selling essential product, which unfortunately I don't have many people here selling essential product, you still need to look at your numbers, right? But even though you're not selling your essential product, you still need to look at your forecast number in April, in May, in June. What would be your best estimate number? And the third priority is connect to the customer, because you do not want your customer to forget about you, right? Find a way to connect with the customer. And the fourth priority is to look at Salesforce capability. What your people can do now to learn, okay? To build up their capability so that they can manage the customer better, manage the business better when the MCO is lifted. So the next thing, right, the leader should look at is risk. You must prepare for risk for the whole organizations. And there are risks in few areas. First is the risk on collection. Your customer may not want to pay. What are you going to do with it? The second risk is revenue. You don't have sales. What are you going to do with it? Based on your forecast, your cash can last until when, right? To run the business. And what are you prepared, to kind of mitigate the risk? And let me share with you a couple of story here. I was talking to one business owner, SME, I think about 7 months ago, even before all this outbreak of viral infections. So this small SME owner was telling me that, look, Winnie, I think the business is really, really going to slow down this year. I think the recession is coming. Then I asked him, I said, what are you going to do? He said, okay, I already plan to sell one of my house, because he has many houses. So I plan to sell one of my house to get my cash ready. I already stopped hiring when people resign. So this small business owner, he actually foresee the financial crisis coming in without the virus at that point. He already doing some mitigation plan. I think it's the same thing now. It's not too late for you to plan, right? How are you going to mitigate your risk at this moment, right? By looking at the potential gap that you face in your revenue. And the next one is execution, and also what activity are you going to do? Once you have your priority list come into place, right, you need to put into activity what is the plan, pin it down, right, and make sure people carry out the activities and measure it. And the last part is actually on how to. You need to demonstrate to your people on how to do it. Let me give you an example, right? Why execution, detail out how to do it, list down the activity is very important. Why the 2, 4, 5 item here is important. I share with you one experience. When I was doing sales leadership for one of my clients, so the boss was telling me that, look, Winnie, this year we have very good plan in place. He said one of our key strategy is, he named it, we have an ABC priority. I asked him, what is the ABC priority? He told me, A is all our customer list A, we want to establish partnership with them. B is all the customer list B, we want to increase our level of activity. The C customer are not so important customer, we just want to be selective. So let me ask you, if you are the sales people, your boss give you instruction of A, B, C initiative, which means that A, do more partnership, B, do more activity, C, list of customer, be selective. Do you think these instructions are very clear? People know how to execute? Can you give me a yes or no? Do you think this instruction is clear enough for people know what to do or not? Guys, yes or no? Okay. Okay, very good. I think most of you get it right. In the actual workshop, when I was doing with the team, right, the manager themselves actually told me, they said, Winnie, we know what is ABC, but we don't understand. We do not know how to do it, right? He said, we want direction on when my boss talk about partnership, how do I carry out the partnership? And what kind of partnership do I do? So this is one area I noticed a lot of leaders, leave a gap here. They are very good telling what they want, but they are not so strong in bringing it down into how to do things. So guys, this is just a reminder for you by sharing with you on this story. And the number 6 is actually communications. During this crisis time, communication is critical, right? It's very important for you to establish a communication routine with your team. Communication routine, that means that it's a pattern of calling in. How often you want the people to call in? Is it every day 9 to 10? Is it every 3 times a week you have a role play? Is it every day 11 to 12, everyone have to call the client? It is important to establish a routine with your team here. And all those things, it shouldn't be just leave it to the sales team. It should be a direction from the management. So if you have not done it, please consider doing some of these things. Any question on this? If no questions, I will move on. If got questions, please write now, okay? So the next thing is, let me go down a little bit even more micro. Once you have identified your priority, the next thing is you need to lead your team. You need to make sure your people know what to do. That is a way to maintain morale and drive productivity. Because the longer the lockdown, the highest is the loss on productivity. Even though your people cannot go out and do sales, but you still have to find a way to make sure during this time, people are still being productive to the best that they can. So I would suggest you look at your priority list and communicate to your team and say that, hey, salespeople, this is my priority, and this is some of the key KPI we have to keep focused. And I look at it, I summarize it into 4 areas for you. First area is sales, right? What will be the sales number you're aiming for, maybe in the month of May, or maybe in the month of June, right? Look into a quarter basis, because I think at the month, we know April is already 0. May, you may want to run some assumption, May, what would be your best assumption? Do you assume half a month lockdown, or do you assume no lockdown, right? And ask people for those kind of numbers, forecast, so that you can manage it better. The other KPI you want to look at is what you want your people to learn. What is your Salesforce competency? And customer relationship. How do you connect to the customer better? So most of the clients that I spoke to, people that I spoke to, they told me that, they get this rep to sell or to call the customer. So I asked them, you ask your rep to call the customer. Do your rep don't know what to talk to the customer or not? Do you think your rep know what to talk to the customer when they call the customer? Whether through phone or WhatsApp or email. Do you know your rep to know how to talk to the customer during the lockdown using virtual means? Yes or no? Guys, share with me your thoughts. Do you think the salespeople know what to talk to the customer? Right. Okay. Okay, so far those who responded, most of them say no. And this is where, as a sales leader, you step in. Okay, not only you step in, you need to work with your marketing team. If you have the training department, work with your training department. You need to teach your rep, if you got to call your customer, what should you talk? If you got to email to your customer, what do you email? I think this is very important here, because your communication with your clients during this time say a lot of things. For example, I was advising one of my clients and say, look, during this time, there's no point for you to call your customer and try to sell your features and benefit. Nobody interested in features and benefit, right? So you have to determine your core objective and teach your rep how to do that. So some pointer for you for core objective depends on the business that you have. I think your core objective should be, number one, establish the trust with your client that we still care for you, right? We are here. Think about sending some relevant information for your client. Move away from talking about product features and benefit now, right? Because nobody is going to listen to that. You may as well use this time to build trust. And the second thing you can consider is services, right? What are some of the, let's say your product is an essential item. How do you make sure they do not out of stock? How do you make sure, let's say their clients, got the support issues, how can you support on this area? Talk to them on something that either touch your customer heart, or either help your customer to solve some problem, or help them on their business later on. So guys, don't leave it to your people what to talk to your customer. You may want to kind of coordinate and organize the information a little bit. And the third part is, your salespeople is not going to spend 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day of calling the customer, right? This is not practical. So you may want to use this time to redeploy your Salesforce effort into something that help you for future selling. Activity like for future selling, for example, can you get your rep to do some prospecting lists, right? Start to do some new potential customer prospect lists, for example. Or can you get your rep to clean up your customer system? Because if you have a very good customer system, customer list, it will help in future selling. Example, can you get your reps to brainstorm with marketings or brainstorm together on what will be the re-engagement plan with the customer should the MCO lifted? So guys, really look at the Salesforce effort, get them to do something that help with the future sales. And the fourth part is, we have to think about number. Even though we know April is 0 sales, but the question is, What is your forecast for June, July, all the way to December? I will probably get you to think about the needs to do your forecast, for quarter 3 and quarter 4. Why? Because once you do your forecast, it helps you to reassess the risk. You know whether the business, in your best assumption, where is it going? If it's going to go into the worst direction that you predict, at least you know what to do next. And once you have your forecast right, the next question you have to ask yourself is target. What am I going to do with the sales rep target? Am I going to change the rep target by reducing it, or am I going to stay put? Then from there, it linked to another question. What about my incentive plan? Do I need to change my incentive plan or stay put, right? I think in view on the short session here, I will not be able to give you a very detailed guidance on what to do next, but I can only give you 2 pointers. Number 1 is your action will depend on your management philosophy, right? Do you believe your target it should be reflective on the current situation? It has to be stretched and achievable. If you believe in that, then you may decide to make some adjustment, but it has to be stretched. Huh? The second thing is whether you want to pay your rep or adjust the incentive or not, depends on your affordability. If the company already making a loss, you cannot pay incentive because people may not even get a job, right? But how do you communicate this? And how do you adjust your incentive with the capability, with the kind of affordability you have? Is something that, as a sales leader, you need to think. As a boss, you need to think about it. Because if you don't look at it, it doesn't mean the problem is not there, right? So maintain a rep morale. One of the key things is to share a lot of information, to be transparent with them, right? And explaining to them why we are doing something that we are doing, right? And this is how we're going to do some of these things. So this is a part of communications and being engaged. So once you decided on what to do with your rep and you communicate with them, the next thing is, okay, this is one of the things I want to highlight is to make sure whatever that you do not assume your salespeople know what to do, and you need to coach and demonstrate how to. Because this is the time you cannot keep things suspend and you cannot keep things unclear. You need to keep things very clear to the best ability you can. And there's only 2 things you can do. Keep communicate as often as you can, as transparent as you can, as clear as you can, and demonstrate on how to do it. Simple thing like how you call your customer, demonstrate, give them the support, give them the material, even write down the script for them. I will probably go to the extent to do it, okay? Because this one is to ensure the operation effectiveness. You cannot go wrong with the customer at this point of time. Every call is a demonstration of how much you care for your clients. Even you want to chase your collection, for example, I think we have some credit and collection controller here. You want to chase your collection, but how do you carry on the conversation so that it doesn't sound so ruthless and sound cruel at this point of time? How do you manage the kind of objections? And this is something that, please demonstrate how to do it for your people. Okay, any question at this point or not before I move into the next segment? No questions? So the next thing is, once you identify what to do with the rep, the next thing you want to shift the focus is to bring everyone in the organization, maybe be it the business development, the marketings, the financial department, or even the sales department. We have to think about how are we going to manage the customer at this time, right? And the objective is you want to build trust, establish credibility, and win your customer. From my experience in sales for all this number of years, right, I learned one thing. In whatever crisis, whatever recession there are still sales in the market, right? It's just that the sales is getting lesser. Take, for example, in a normal situation, you will have a business pie of maybe like a pizza pie, right, of 10 inches, right, 10 inches pie for the total business volume in the market. But during recession, during crisis, that 10 inches may shrink it into 7 inches, but there's still 7 inches of business pie. To me, I just have to do one thing. I just have to make sure I do better than my competitor and eat into my competitor pie. Because they're still business, it's just a matter of how do I win that from my competitor. And the key is with the customer. So guys, think about how do you engage with your customer. Your customer are going through the same pain as you're doing, as you're going through now. They're also worried about their revenue. They're worried about the cash flow. They're worried about, you know, disruption to the business. Some of your clients may have a productions running. With this lockdown, their production is going to delay. They may not fulfill their clients' orders. Maybe they also have issue of supplier or support, services support. So these are all the issues the client are facing. So you need to identify what are some of the pain point and ask yourself, what can you do to help them? So in this particular slide, I will just share with you a few of my thoughts in terms of how do I manage my customer, right? Some of the thinking. The first thing I will probably look at it is, no matter how when your rep call the customer or see the customer after MCO, right, there will be MCO conversation with the customer. Your rep will ask for collection. Your customer will say, no lah, I got look how to pay, you know, can pay you later or not because of this COVID-19, right? Can you come back next month? If you want to run even a promotion for your customer may say that, look, I don't think I want to commit, you know, into this kind of commitment. You want to get your customer to buy new product, your customer will say, hold on. So all this objection or conversation is going to link to COVID-19. So to me, rather than just knowing it and leaving the rep on handling it on their own, I will probably proactively prepare the reps, right? I will work with different, the head of departments. I will work with senior people to come up with some programs to teach the rep how to handle all these objections. Don't leave it to chance, right? Because every connection with the customer is important now. It's an opportunity for you to build trust. So proactively handle COVID-19 conversation, proactively teach your rep how to handle all these objections, anything that you foresee. Okay, the third part is very important, right? I think if you are selling plastic resin product, if you are selling whatever product you're selling, B2B clients, right? It's important for you to think now. How do you re-engineer your products? For example, just how one of you have been talking about, I teach music, right? So how do I get revenue now? So you may want to think about a new solution moving forward. Do you want to go online, right? Is it possible for online teaching during this lockdown? Or even moving forward, how is your business model is going to change? Another example I could think of is like, you know, I think for some of you are selling, Takan Tenaga is selling printing and packaging products. For example, if I got to sell packaging product, I may want to re-engineer my solution into what? Into aseptic package delivery, right? Because nowadays people are very concerned with safety. If I can change my solution into aseptic delivery, would that be an edge for me to win over the competitors at this time? So if you are selling, and for example, some of you are selling engineering products, right? Be it a construction product or whatever, you have to think about how can you change your solutions, your sales pitch, right? That is going to match with the current situation. Think about your value proposition. Is your value proposition on convenient? I think convenient is not going to work at this point. Are you able to help your client to save more costs? Are you going to help your clients to save more to be more operation effective? So you have to relook at your solution and ask yourself, how can I change it, right? To match the current situation. Your product does not change, but your selling pitch can change. So think about that. The next thing is to creative with your sales presentation. My take is this: even if after MCO lifted, your customer may not be so excited to see you, right? Because they will still try to avoid direct contact with people. Unless it's life and death, if not, a lot of customers will say, look, maybe I won't accept your appointment. If anything, you call me, right? So you may want to be creative. Rather than relying 100% on face-to-face interaction with your client, start preparing on sales presentation or maybe a video, you know, that can help you to sell virtually. This is something that, you know, you can start preparing now. The next thing to look at is whatever it is, as a head of the organization or the sales organization or as a boss, you can't panic. you do not stop selling and prospect. Get your team together and relook at the whole business. And that lead me into the next slide on after lockdown, right? In after lockdown, it's very important you must have a crisis sales plan. Because during this time, important time, you cannot run your business based on intuition. I feel maybe it's this way. You cannot run your business on the go. When it comes, then I change. You must have a roadmap, you must have a plan. So if you don't have a crisis sales plan or business plan now, you may want to reconvene your management team, your marketing team, your finance team, to sit down together and say, hey, can we relook at our plan now? What is still working and what needs to change? So if you want to do a crisis sales plan, right, I will recommend you to assess the crisis impact. You may want to identify 3 scenarios. What is the best scenario? What is the worst scenario? What is the, okay, I think Kathy Heng said, want to see the last slide. Okay, let me just revert the slide for Kathy. Kathy, do you see the last slide? Okay, okay, I'm just talking about, you first of all, you want to do your crisis sales plan. First is to play 3 scenarios. So you know what is the best, worst, and middle scenario. Then from there, you assess, based on all these 3 scenarios, what will be the likely amount of sales that you're going to get. So at least you're changing your target based on the most likely scenario here. Then the next thing you look at is, you look back at your existing plan. What are some of strategy and tactic is still working at this moment? And when you look at the strategy and tactic, right, you may want to think about 3 things. One is your customer, right? Are you still looking at the same customer traditionally? Take for example, if I'm selling printing, right? Do I still rely on just the same customer pool? Or do I want to expand my pool of clients? If I'm selling packaging, for example, or delivering services, I may want to relook at my partners, maybe I want to partners with different group of people who engage in logistic business. So guys, this is something that you need to think, right? Does your customer change or not? So I give you one example. There's one time when we look at the business, when there's crisis happen, we even make our plan on who we want to target. We change our plan. Because there's 2 schools of thought. For example, you may think that if normal business situation, you want to go for new client, new customer. But you may want to ask yourself, during the crisis, do I still want to go for new customer or not? Right? Because new customer, it takes longer time to build trust. And it's probably more difficult to penetrate. Do you have the capacity to go for new customer now? Right? While your existing customer could be under threat. So do you want to reorganize your effort? So there's no right or wrong answer, right? So it's a choice management got to make. The other one is the product. Do your product change or not, right? Maybe you have 10 product in the organization, 100 product in the company. In the past, maybe you focus on 1, 2, 3 products. Now, is your 1, 2, 3 product is still the most appropriate product to focus? Do you want to focus new products? So I won't be able to answer for you, but you need to reassess on this together with your marketing teams. Of course, the next thing is competitions. You need to assess who your competitor now, because even your competitor landscape could change. Because with the online business, people can buy anywhere, right? So you may have new competitor actually emerging. And the third one is to look at your business, your numbers. So guys, once you have done that, the next thing is to look at communication, right? You need to communicate your crisis sales plan so that you make sure everyone in the organization, from finance department to marketing department to logistics department, know the focus. And you continue monitor and refine your plan as necessary during crisis. So in short, you need a roadmap during this time. And your roadmap has to be very flexible, right? So any questions? So this is just some guidance if you want to formulate a crisis sales plan, right? This is some question I want you to keep in mind. I will just read that out. The first question is think about customer. What do customer need to stay successful? Can I fulfill this need or not? So you may want to change your marketing plan, right? Can you repackage your product? Can you repackage your offer? Can you move from transactional sales into partnerships, into maybe consultant services to help your customer to stay successful? And during this time, a lot of your customer will be relooking at the contract on how they spend the money. So I won't be surprised you have customer to call you, hey, I want to relook at the contract in terms of pricing, in terms of duration. So be prepared to renegotiate. And maybe you want to proactively protect your deal. The next thing to look at is business, right? I think work with the finance department to prepare for how to increase your reputations. You need to have enough cash on hand, right, to pay your employee, to pay for your goods. You may want to assess new challenges or opportunity. Is there any new opportunity that emerge or not? Like one of my clients who are doing engineering sales, and during this period of time, he have made a bold discussions of, hey, I'm going to stop selling this product. I'm going to shift all my focus to bring in one product, which is the face mask, not face mask, which is the face shield, right? He changed his priority to move into face shield. So he shift his business focus from product A to product B. So you have to constantly assess what is a new opportunity emerge. And the third thing is, what do we need to stay, competitive? Do you need to relook at pricing? Do you need to relook at your bundling? Sometimes you may want to talk about product bundling, right? To keep yourself, competitive. And the other one not to forget to look at is your supply chain. You may want to relook at your supply chain because there will be a lot of disruption in the world markets. So if you only have one supplier, you may want to start with alternative supplier just in case. So the third one is actually on strong sales culture and process. Do you have a very strong sales culture and process in place or not? If you don't have, it's very important to quickly, to find a way to start building it. Because culture, it doesn't start overnight, you see. If you start looking at the culture now, you may only see the impact 6 months or 9 months down the road. But if you do not plan for it, it may not happen. If you plan for it, there's a chance that it will happen. There is a way to do it. There's a method to do it, right? So in my sales leadership program, I do teach, the 4 buckets of competency we talk about. And again, assess your team capability. Do they have the capability to compete with the competitors? So all these are key questions in your crisis business plan that you need to consider. You must have a segment to analyze your customer, a segment to analyze your business, your channel, your product range, your strategy, your tactics. Must have a segment to look at the capability. So these are the 3 segments in business plan that you should consider. Any questions on doing after lockdown? Any questions? I pause now for some questions here. If no question, let me ask you, right? Does everybody have a business plan in place? Okay, can you put yes if you have a business plan in place and no if there's none at this moment? Can you give me your response? Okay. Any other response? Okay, so I got a mixed response. Some say yes, some say no. Right. So since we are in the lockdown now, it's actually probably good, to relook at your business plan. Have a plan, right? So bosses, if you are the bosses in the organization, please look into it. You may want to reconvene your team together and really talk about the business. How do we change our plan now? Do we need to change? Maybe the answer is don't have to change, but I think it's worth to revisit the plan. Okay, now I'm coming back I'm going into the moving forward, right? And my take is this crisis is going to change a lot of things because this crisis is going to last the next 8-9 months. There will be still some form of movement control. There may be still some form of people, do not want to go to crowded area. So it may permanently change the way on how we do business, our business landscape, our competitor landscape. even our consumer behavior, our customer behavior. Some of it is going to change forever. But I believe in any crisis, there are some silver lining. There's some good things of it, right? And one of the good things I want to keep in mind for any leaders, any bosses here is, in any crisis is a good opportunity to drive new change. A new change with your clients, a new change with your rep. So make sure you tap on this opportunity to drive new things. In fact, it's also opportunity for you, right, to review your organization fundamental, because this is a test now. From here, from this crisis, you know what, if you have gone through the analysis that I showed to you just now, you will know how fundamentally strong is your organization, right? So when you have gone through the assessment, you might want to leverage on this crisis to review your competitive position in the marketplace. You may want to review your strategic plan, maybe 3 years plan. 5 years is too long nowadays. I think 5 years is probably irrelevant. Look at 3 years only. Your 3-year strategic plan, if you've got to stay survive, and how you're going to change, reinvent your business. And my recommendation is, whatever you do now, you have to think about how can you serve your customer better than your competitor. Think about way to reinvest your customer relationship and channel partnerships. Ask yourself, does your people still sell in a transactional manner? Transactional manner means that, sell on price, right? Sell on a single deal. You may want to look at partnerships. You may want to look at things like insight selling, customer need-based selling, partnership selling. So these are some of the new selling skills which I feel is very relevant in a more competitive environment. Take the opportunity to re-examine your organization fundamental, your culture, and find a way, to look into the team morale. Don't forget to communicate and track and train your people. And the other thing is, I will urge you to look at, technology. How are you going to leverage technology, digital, to gain operational effectiveness, to make your organization more effective. I think you have not been using digital technology. I think it's time to relook at it in the longer terms. So whatever we do, whatever the crisis we are facing, you cannot control all things that happen to you, but you can always control how you react. So as long as you are bosses in the organization, you're the leaders, you have the responsibility to make sure that you respond proactively to the situation by taking charge. Okay, taking charge, at least you have a better chance of landing successful in surviving this crisis. So key questions moving forward, right? When you talk about long-term plan, I want to zoom into people. You may want to look at, your sales manager. Are they aligned with your business? Do they have the right business acumen? Or even can they coach their people? Because from my experience, in crisis time, in recession time, your salespeople got to be really, really good. Mediocre salespeople cannot sell. You know why? Because customer very stingy. They do not want to spend. They are less low risk in picking new product. They don't want to change. So if your salespeople is only mediocre, they will find it very difficult to sell. So you need to make sure your salespeople are able to upskill their selling skill in order to convince the customer to change, to buy more. The other one I want you to look at is actually organization culture. Do your organization culture is performance focused? Do people think on their feet? Do people see the problem that will want to solve the problems, that will take ownership on the problems? So I think this is some of the fundamental questions you may want to look at, as far as related to people management. So let me ask you, right, what do you think is the biggest challenge in managing the sales team here? I think earlier some of you have shared some of the thoughts, but can you just give me some response now for those that who come in later, or you can share with me again after the presentation? What do you think is the biggest challenges in managing the sales team? Any answer? No sharing? Okay, if you don't have any sharing, let me share with you one of the real story, from one of my clients, Aslan, okay? So Aslan is actually MD. He is actually MD on one of the big electronic in electronic business, one of the big corporate that sell electronics products. So Aslan was sharing with me this. It's a concession from him. He said, Winnie, do you know how I feel or not when managing my team? He said, I feel I'm the only one who are pushing the trolley, the cart. I'm the only one who are pushing very, very hard. And my team, my managers, they are all standing beside to watch me push. That's how I feel. And sometimes I tak boleh tahan, he told me, I tak boleh tahan. I even have to throw my manager into the cart. But I end up having a heavier load. I have to keep pushing and pushing, right? So that is his confessions. He feels he's all alone doing the pushing alone. It's very tiring. And he feels that, look, I'm not comfortable to take long leave because the minutes I take long leave, there's nobody pushing. But if I continue to push, when am I going to stop? So he feels so frustrated. And when I heard that, I actually feel with him because I have felt that before. So can you share with me how many of you feel like this CEO? How many of you do feel like this CEO? That you feel you're the only one pulling along, but your team member is standing on the side to watch. Any one of you feel the same? Just put yes, you will feel the same. Does it resonate with you? Actually, honestly, right, when I heard this, Aslan is talking about it, I almost want to cry because that was exactly how I felt, when I was younger, as a manager. And I felt very alone pushing for the initiative. And I don't understand why people do not follow. Why I have to keep pushing? I remember telling my friend, I said, it's so tired to push, right? And why do I have to be bad guy and keep pushing people along? I don't enjoy doing it. And I find myself very stressed, and I find myself very driving most of the time, right? So later on, and I think I found the formula, I find a way to engage for my team members, my direct managers at that point. Do you know when I realized that I achieved that objective? When, every year we have to distribute sales target, right? I remember I have 4 managers, 4 national sales managers report to me. And I realized gained, I have gained the team trust. I'm able to enroll the team when doing target distribution, because when we distribute target, I don't just send them out, this is your target. I actually sit down before we finalize the target. I sit down with all my national sales manager. We talk about how do we split the pie, who get more, who get less. And I felt I have achieved something when my sales manager actually making comments like this. When they say, hey, I think this product I can do more. Hey, you cannot do, right? I help you do more of this. So guys, when I move from feeling like I'm pushing things along into my national sales manager, I actually commented I can take more targets. Why your target so low? I can take more. And I felt I had hit some right formula. So guys, this is something that, it doesn't happen overnight. It has to be a very conscious effort in driving the right culture, in driving the right behavior, and coaching the people and engaging them. So now let me ask you, right? This is where I need your input, right? For us to plan in terms of what will be the suitable webinar for you later on. I want to ask you, out of these four topics, right? Which is the 4 topics are most important to you now that you would like to hear about this course? Topic number 1 is, how do I drive high performance mindset that people are accountable, okay, for their own result? Topic number 2 is, how do I align my sales team to drive result? How do I make the result more predictable? Everyone going for the same thing, right? Align the team to drive the same activity. Number 3 is, how do I motivate my team during crisis? Number 4 is, how do I lead and manage change during this crisis? So what I would like everyone to do now, if I can I have everyone, right, to type your name, your company, and list down which are the topics that most relevant to you now. Take for example, I can put Atlan, maybe from company A, 1, 2, and 3. Then at least we know for you, what is most relevant to you now is 1, 2, and 3 topics. Can we do that? We will take 2 minutes for everyone to key in. Okay. You can put more than 1 topic, there's no limits, right? Yeah. Very good. I'm getting the response. Okay, keep going. Okay. We are waiting for everyone to respond. Yeah. Okay, good. Nizam, I hear you. Okay. Okay. Keep going. Okay. Thank you, Chang. Okay, Chen is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Alex is 1 and 2. Okay. Okay, guys. All these topics are very practical topics, right? And all these topics are quite relevant on today. So what I have done is actually to pack more as my experience into a 90-minute session on a power workshops, on online workshops. So this 90 minutes power workshop is basically, I'm going to share with you on the framework. What is some of the framework? What is some of the methodology that you can do these 1, 2, 3, 4 items? Okay, so it's going to be a very practical framework that I'm going to share, right? So if you are interested, you can actually write to iTraining, and iTraining will arrange, the session with you, right? So you want to share anything on this?
Can you explain a little bit to them what is it covered? What is it going to be covering in this 90 minutes?
Okay.
Driving performance. Yeah.
Okay, so guys, let me share with you. Okay, number 1, right, is how to drive high performance mindset. You see, what happened is a lot of time as a sales leader, we struggle one thing. We struggle one thing that people, our sales people, or cannot think on. We struggle one thing of how to get our team member being accountable for the result. For example, ideally, we want the team member to see the problem. They want to solve the problem. They will do it. Okay, so see, only solve it, do it. There's 4 steps to it. So in this particular training, I'm going to share with you how to drive, your team to be more accountable by being able to see the problem, own the problem, solve the problem, do it, right? How do you drive the culture along this way? So I'm going to teach you how. On the second thing is to align sales team to drive result. So earlier I shared with you on how important is as the leader, we have to make sure people able to do the how-to, right? The activity is very important. Let me share with you example like their leaders are very good to say that I want $10 million sales. They are very good to tell what they want. They also very good to tell that, look, I want 10 million sales, I want you to focus on product 1, 2, 3. They're also very good in telling that. But sometimes the gap happen is they are not able to drive all the way to the activities, right? So in this course, I'm going to share with you how sales manager can set the sales objective. I'm going to share with you 4 sales objectives, 4 different types. I'm going to teach you all the 4 different types of sales objective. How are you going to set it? And how are you going to align this activity, your activity to this objective, so that everyone in the organization are aligned in the same direction. And that's very important. Everyone must be aligned in the same directions, right? To fight. And the third one is how to motivate your sales team. So a lot of time people always thought that motivate the sales team, it means using incentive. right? But to me, motivate your team is more than incentive. So I'm going to teach you, your salespeople are actually belong to one of the four types of people. There are some people are more motivated by achievement. There are some people more motivated by friendship. So you need to understand which type of your people belong to, what motivate them. And then from there, I'm going to teach you how do you use different method to motivate them. I'm going to teach 8 motivation mix, different mix, you can use to motivate your people. And the fourth one is lead and manage change crisis. I'm going to give you a simple 4-step process, okay? How do you lead yourself during the crisis, lead others, and getting others ready, to perform. So we are going to discuss about what people go through during the change, how do you help people transit the change, and what are the 4 steps for you to move from people from don't want to change into look, we are here, let's do it, right? So these are the 4 things that I'm going to cover in the 90 minutes. Actually, it's a very compact kind of workshop. What I can assure you is, it's not going to be in general. It's not something like concept, and top line. For each of these things, you're going to go back with the tools, with a formula. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? So I think for the fact that all of you are logged into the programs, right, it shows that, you acknowledge sales leadership is very important, and sales leader play a big part in terms of leading the teams out of the crisis. So these are the moments also we have identified that, we need to be equipped ourselves, with the right tools. So I'm trying to pack my experience into a formula, into a tool that is going to share with you. So I will urge you to look at it, not only because of this crisis, but looking at the, looking at the competency that moving forward. You train yourself so that you can remain employable. Hey, guys, this is something I have learned, very important. If you are 30 years old, 40 years old, or 45 years old, or 20 years old, it's very important for you to make yourself stay relevant. And only way to stay relevant is keep on upskill yourself. Okay, right? Yeah. So Michael is talking about what is the investment. I think Sue, I leave it to you. What is the eye training investment for this year? Sue?
I muted myself. I wanted to say that this is a very special course. We actually, by right, it should be sold in $299 per person during the normal times. Because we want to give it back to the community and also help the business also, we will do a very good promotion, which is not $299, definitely. And on top of that, we will also give you a special bonus on the blueprint that you will provide when you sign up for this course. We have this course called Align Sales Team to Drive Results on the 22nd of April. And the cost is $299 only. And for driving high performance mindset, which is number 1, it's also on the 27th of April. It's going to be a 1 hour and a half, 90 minutes from 11 to 12:30. It's the price is $299 per person.
Okay.
Fair price, I think very fair price. This is probably the what do you call it? Cheapest price that the iTraining has ever put in for this kind of sales. But we are going to give even a more ridiculous price because we're going to give all out. We are sponsored actually to finance it actually, and also to finance half. This webinar cost me $800, just to buy the subscription to pack it 300 people. And also not 300, 800.
Actually, tell you a joke, right? When Sue was telling me the price, I was telling Sue that, hey, my daughter tuition, my daughter tuition, chemistry tuition, right? One-on-one, is actually per hour 100, per 1 hour 130 ringgit. So I was telling them, I said, okay. I also have people to ask me that, hey, why are we charging webinars, for 90 minutes when a lot of people are giving free webinar? So my take is this, right? Free webinar, I will still continue to give, right, on some of these topics. But you will notice the free webinar that I'm giving you today, there's a lot of contents, but there's a lot of only on the directions that I'm giving, you know, on the guidance or on my experience that I'm sharing. But the difference on this online workshop is I'm going to go in depth onto each of these topics. You know, there will be tools. So I think it's also a commitment that, you know, the minute you sign up, it's also a commitment that yourself is putting in, as well as my commitment to put in as well, right? Yeah. So,
you all want to have the link, you can just go to our website, or we will just drop you an email on the website. You can have a look. So are you going to give a very crazy offer to them today, since they're all here, 63 of us, you know?
I'm okay. No, I mean, I feel obliged in terms of, I would like to help, you know, at this point of time by sharing my experience. And I enjoy teaching, I enjoy sharing, right? So I think in this time, yeah, I think I'm okay, so yeah.
If you have a team of people that you want to bring in, you know, bring them in together, and then we have a special class, just concentrate on your business, that would be even better. Then you just pour all your things and you talk to Winnie. You know, you can have a mini in-house program that talks about your business only. Okay lah, just do it this way lah. And today we are going to give it out at a very special price. Okay, not 299, but it's going to be not even 199. You know, we were thinking of it. Okay, just 99 per person to have this course registered. So if you like to register, you can take the link at the bottom. You can click and register first. You want to pay later also can. You don't want to pay also can. Then you don't need, you know, you can think about it, put a commitment so we know that you really like the program. And also next one, our team has also sent you the survey form, right? The evaluation form. Did you see an evaluation form? That is sent to your WhatsApp or even probably your email. If you don't have it, please tell us. Please fill out the evaluation form so that we have a record of your presence, and also what is it that you think about this program, yeah, and also what are other further programs or things that you want us to do, maybe a complimentary one or maybe a paid one. But we are going to give you a very low price for this time, because difficulties. We also have many other programs that are coming up. Some are paid, some are complimentary. As much as possible, we will give back to you. But if it involves what do you call it, consultancy and also intelligence, we really also need to spend some time to study about this. Okay.
Yeah. I think the earlier you enroll is better for me, because I can actually prepare the sessions, right? You know, much in advance. Yeah.
Hey, for people who enroll today, they got special gift for them or not?
Okay. What I did was, I know I covered a lot during this time. So what I did is, I actually prepare a checklist, right? A checklist for what I've discussed on how you lead your sales team before, during, and after, even after the MCO. So this checklist is quite comprehensive, as you can see from the slide. So for whoever who have give us the feedback through the registration and also enroll in the programs, right? This can be something that I think iTraining can help to send to them, yeah.
Can you tell us about this checklist? I know that you put your heart and soul to come up with this checklist. When I look at it, I thought, oh my God, this must be 20 years of experience of coming up with this checklist, which is called the blueprint of the sales.
Yeah, this checklist is actually quite detailed. You know, it's actually resources for the people to go what you call step by step. For example, in the planning, right? I just remind you that, hey, have you write your top 5 priorities? Have you assessed your risk for the organization or not? So for each of the action, I actually have some questions to prompt you, to stimulate your thinkings, right? So that you don't miss anything. So for example, during the MCO, right? What is the key objective for your sales call? Do you have key objective or not? So with the key objective, what are you going to drive, right? What activity are you going to do? So what are some of the considerations you should take? After the MCO, you know, what are the questions that you should ask yourself? So if you just follow this, it's more structured and more comprehensive, so that you won't miss out on the critical points to bring your business forward. Yeah. So it's actually a very extensive list. Yeah. I
Uh,
actually tackle from the angle that if I go to run your business, this is what I think. Yeah.
did you use this kind of blueprint to actually manage your 400 million sales?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this
I
must be
mean,
very valuable.
this is basically is already this is basically what I would do if I could manage this team now, right? If I could run the same business again, you know, in the corporates or run my own business, this is exactly the thinking process that I will be going through. They basically I duplicate my thinking into a 3 slide. I mean 2 pages, 3 pages, I think. I duplicate my thinking into 3 pages in very detailed step by step. Yeah.
Right. For bulk registration, yeah, this is a special price, 99 per person. So that is the right price. Did you get in your WhatsApp the survey form? Can you fill out the survey form and send it back to us? At least we have some feedback on the comments for Winnie and also what are the programs that you like and what how did we fare in our presentation to you. And also Winnie, very important, yeah, they want to know who have you helped or who have you consulted or what kind of businesses and also kind of coaching that you have done for businesses and out of the coaching, what happens to them? Did they come out better or worse, or did they bankrupt, or did they bounce up, or what happens? Why did they engage you to as a consultant or a trainer to run training for them or to consult them, or at least share some things for them?
Okay. Okay. What I can share with you is uh okay, my own differentiation point now, right? Which I see for myself is that I come in with a very practical corporate experience. So I do not get my knowledge by just reading books, because by reading books you can get a lot of knowledge, but you don't get the practical experience, right? So I actually have a practical experience of running a sales organizations, right? And I run a sales team sales manager up to 25 sales managers. I run the sales force like up to 200 people. So I know practically what are the challenges that you are facing, right? For that skill. And so I bring in with the practical experience. And the second thing is, as I mentioned to you, I actually quite structured in my thinking. I believe in learning a skill, right? Whatever you learn, right? The best way to learn is to break down into step by step. It's just like when you drive a car. I always like the analogy that you drive a car. When you want to learn how to drive a car, you break it down to step by step. Your coach will teach you this. Can you turn on the key? Can you adjust the mirror? Can you step at the accelerator? So they will prescribe all these key. So when they prescribe this in step by step, right, then you are able to repeat. So when I do my teaching, I always try to break it down into formula, break it down into very clear steps, so that even if after I leave the training, right, you will have something to follow through. You can self-coach, right? You can self-coach. I think that's the key words. So some of the comments that I remember when I first started training for one of the education company, you know, they actually university, you know, they actually sell their program, sell the degree. I think the comment they tell me is that, okay, which I was quite happy with the comment. The sales people are telling me that, look, now I only know what I don't know, right? I know our gap now. We know what we do not know now, right? So I think this is why people have this feedback, is because I'm able to break it down into very clear, you know, system for them, so they can benchmark. I think this is where I bring on the table. So my client actually cut across with different industry. Even though I was from a pharma, you know, I have coached, you know, trained for people who sell what you call engineering products, right? People who sell bearing, people who sell water filter, water systems, you know, engineering products, and to construction, to educations, to FMCG, even to people who sell fire engines, you know. So I have trained different people, company from different industry. Yeah. Mm.
Okay, do you have any more last questions? We have a couple more minutes and then we will say thank you to Winnie for her insights. Winnie, if you can just give them what do you call a summary of your presentation and what is it that they can take home. If
Okay.
you're not seeing them again, you know, what is it that they can take home?
So, okay, my take home message is this, right? This is and very unusual crisis. And this crisis, in my opinion, is going to last longer and bigger impact than any one of us may thought of, right? So I think it's very important for whoever out there, you need to be prepared, and prepare meanings that you need to be proactive, right? And you need to proactive, to come up with a very clear plan. And secondly is, you need to be willing to change, like being agile, right? In terms of how we're going to transform our business, in terms of business direction, in terms of people capability. I think if you can do that, uh, you stand a better chance to be successful in this, to live out of this crisis. Yeah.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you have any comments? You want to say something to Winnie for her effort of talking to you?
And stay healthy, everybody. Yeah.
Anything you learned from Winnie? Whether you like, she actually is very passionate. She can talk and very passionate about this sales, and also concerned about the community, business community. That's why we came up with this special bite-sized program, because it's very difficult to actually squeeze such a condensed and important program, which we usually run in 2 days, in just 90 minutes. You have to really bring out the gem and to study. So even if you register, we would actually call you and ask you first, what is your background, business background, and all of this, to study first before you come, so that we understand the business behind it, and what is it that we can discuss and solve in that 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's our intention.
Yeah. And the reason we do 90 minutes, because we figure out that, anything longer, people get bored.
Is it true?
So, tell me whether it's true or not.
Yeah, is it true?
So it's going to be a challenge to pack all the learning in 90 minutes, but I'm taking the challenge. Yeah.
90 minutes should be okay, right, for everybody. But some of the trainings we are running, we still have to run it 2 full days. For example, like financial modeling with Excel, Power BI, Excel, Power Query. It's all whole full days, so that one we cannot change. But when it comes to these things, we can adjust the timing first. We can do a powerful presentation, but before and after, we will have a lot of work to do.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay. Won't get bored if things are presented. Oh, okay.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Actually, it's quite challenging to pack all that into 90 minutes, right? You basically have to pack the cream inside. All the cream's got to be inside. Yeah.
Anything else you want to learn, or any challenges you have, you can drop us an email. We can still chat from there. Yeah? So thank you so much. We hope to bring you more valuable bite-sized learnings, and keep in touch with us. Winnie and I are always open. We are in training. Our staff are supporting, even though they're at home, but they're supporting. They're hiding somewhere inside one of the participants. So thank you so much. When we have other trainings, we will let you know also. So
yeah.
And you also keep in touch. Noor Idayu says she loves your presentation.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's also very encouraging for me, to see you guys turn up for this. Yeah. Okay. Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Aline says it's never been so engaging virtually.
Okay. And thank you for your comments.
Yeah. We rehearsed and prepared for quite some time.
Yeah.
Come up with this effect. We hope this is good enough, beneficial. If there's anything that we can improve, please drop us an email and let us know, or comment here. At least we know the feedback. And like you and I, we always want to stay safe and want to stay in business, and want everybody to be, going through this, but come up victorious after the lockdown, or after the economic slump. So get yourself ready financially, also up your skills, your sales skills, get ready your business plans, and discuss with people who are positive, like us, or like your friends here. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. Chat A1 say, Kiki, say big thank you. Which pharmaceutical? The top one.
Just text.
Which pharmaceutical company are you from? The top one,
One of the most famous with the blue pill product.
The blue pill, the cancer pill, the important drugs.
Yeah.
That is not a very easy position to be in. And I know that sales people are not very niao. Niao, what do you mean by niao? It's not very easy, a bit cocky, they're sales. to manage one is like a big hill. You manage 100, you must be of some substance in order to manage that. So I hope you benefit a lot. If you have any more comments or things that you want us to talk about, please drop us an email. We would like to continuously help. All right, continuous stay in business. Our business is changing actually. We're moving all to web as well. Anyway, we are always on the web anyway. All our things are on the cloud anyway. So we know that our staff are always here and there in different countries and some in Malaysia. And now with MCO, none of them can actually go to work, including me. But we have an insight of this for a long time. Everything is on the cloud. Okay, so we can issue, we can check who came, who didn't come. We can register you. We can send out the invoices and collection. Everything is online, so we are quite mobile. If you are not online, then you find some people who can be reliable and do something for your company. I think that will be useful. And also the brainstorming. Yeah, what kind of products or what kind of services you can come out of this MCO instead of just sitting. I think gone is the time where you just sit and cry and wait for an MCO to end. I think it will never end.
Yeah, it will last long.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a good time. Prepare for early dinner or something. And go back and revise. Yeah, continue to do your homework. Yeah, really scold them a bit, give them encouragement.
I'm sure they have time to do it now, right? I mean, my last word is, whatever learning you do, right, you do it for yourself, because yourself will benefit the most before the business too. Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Stay safe.
Okay, thank you. I'll just log out in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Play some bad music.
Thanks.
If we text you, I think we text you, right? Please fill out the evaluation form, yeah, please, and send it.